Welcome to FlyEaglesFly News, where Eagles fans get the latest, fastest, and hottest updates. Hit subscribe and fly high with us. The rumor started quietly, almost like a whisper lost in the cold air around Philadelphia. But it didn't take long before it grew into something heavy enough to make the entire Eagles fan base stop and hold its breath. The idea that Saquon Barkley might be on his way out of the Eagles feels like the kind of news that doesn't just disappoint, it wounds. This is the sort of speculation that spreads through radio shows, comment sections, bar conversations, and late-night group chats. Because Barkley represents more than a name on the roster, he represents hope, power, redemption, and a vision of dominance that fans believed would define the season. When people talk about the worst possible news of the year, this rumor instantly climbs to the top of the list. Because it shakes the emotional foundation of what many believed this team was becoming. Barkley's presence in midnight green felt like a statement. A declaration that the Eagles were all in, that they wanted to control games physically and emotionally. So when the idea of his departure enters the conversation, it doesn't feel like a simple transaction. It feels like the floor cracking beneath the feet of a fan base that had finally allowed itself to dream without limits. What makes this rumor even more painful is the timing and the symbolism attached to Saquon Barkley's name. Saquon Russell Cuevas Barkley is not just any running back. He is one of the most recognizable and respected talents of his generation. A player whose blend of power, agility, and vision turns ordinary plays into moments people replay for years. In Philadelphia, fans embraced him not only for what he could do on the field, but for what he represented off it: professionalism, leadership, and a hunger to prove himself on the biggest stage. The thought that the Eagles might be preparing to move on from him, whether because of contract tension, internal philosophy shifts, or long-term planning, it's like a punch to the chest. This isn't about a depth piece or a rotational player. This is about a cornerstone, or at least someone many fans believed would be one. Rumors like this force people to confront the fragile reality of the NFL, where even the strongest bonds between city and star can be temporary. As the speculation grows, fans are left trying to read between the lines of every press conference. Every vague comment, every non-answer from team insiders. Silence becomes suspicious. Neutral language sounds cold, and suddenly, every small detail is interpreted as evidence that something is wrong. In the Eagles community, the emotional response has been intense. Because Barkley's arrival was supposed to signal stability and ambition. He was supposed to be the engine of a balanced defense. The player defense is feared when the weather turned harsh, and games became about toughness. Imagining him wearing another uniform, running through another city stadium, is almost unbearable for fans who already pictured him as part of the Eagles' identity. This is how rumors hurt the most, not by confirming reality, but by forcing people to imagine a future they do not want to see. There is also a deeper fear hidden beneath this rumor, one that goes beyond Saquon Barkley himself. If the Eagles are truly considering letting him go, what does that say about the direction of the team? Fans begin to wonder if there is a philosophical shift happening behind closed doors. A move away from physical dominance toward something less reliable, less intimidating. Barkley represents old-school football values, blended with modern explosiveness. And losing that presence could feel like losing a part of the team's soul. Supporters ask themselves whether this is about money, longevity, or a lack of belief. None of those answers are comforting in a city that prides itself on loyalty and grit. The idea of moving on from a player like Barkley so soon feels almost like betrayal. Even if the business side of football often demands difficult decisions, emotionally, this rumor has reopened old wounds for Eagles fans who have seen beloved players come and go before. They know how quickly heroes can become memories, how jerseys end up hanging in closets instead of stadium seats. Barkley's potential exit taps into that shared trauma, reminding everyone that no matter how exciting a move feels, permanence is never guaranteed. The tears some fans talk about are not just about Saquon Barkley leaving, but about the fear of hope being taken away once again. Hope is fragile in the NFL, and Philadelphia fans guard it fiercely. When they feel it slipping through their fingers, the reaction is raw and deeply personal. For now, everything remains speculation. But that does not make the pain any less real. Rumors have power, especially when they involve a player who has already captured the heart of a fan base. Saquon Barkley leaving the Eagles is not confirmed, but the mere possibility has already changed the emotional temperature of the season. It has turned excitement into anxiety and confidence into doubt. And until clarity arrives, Eagles fans are left with nothing but questions, fears, and the haunting image of what might be lost if this worst-case scenario becomes reality. As the rumor continues to swirl, the conversation around Saquon Barkley's potential departure grows louder and more complex, evolving from shock into deep analysis mixed with desperation. Fans are no longer just reacting emotionally, they are trying to rationalize the unthinkable. They ask whether the Eagles' front office might believe Barkley's best years are behind him, or if they fear the physical toll that comes with being a running back in today's league. Yet even these logical explanations fail to ease the pain. Because Barkley has never been just about statistics or mileage, he is about presence. He is about the way defenses adjust before the snap, the way teammates feed off his energy, and the way a crowd rises when he touches the ball. Letting go of a player like that, even as a rumor, feels like voluntarily giving up an edge that cannot be easily replaced. There is also a sense of disbelief because Barkley's fit with the Eagles felt almost perfect. Philadelphia is a city that celebrates toughness, resilience, and players who run toward contact rather than away from it. Barkley embodies all of that. His running style feels tailor-made for cold nights, loud crowds, and high-pressure moments. The idea that the Eagles might walk away from such a natural pairing creates confusion. Fans wonder if something behind the scenes has fractured the relationship, or if this is simply the brutal math of roster construction at work. Either way, the emotional bond has already formed, and once that happens, separation feels devastating. Regardless of the reasoning, from a narrative standpoint, this rumor threatens to rewrite what many believed this season would represent. Barkley in an Eagles uniform symbolized a statement of intent, a move that said the franchise was serious about controlling games and imposing its will. Taking that away changes the entire story. It shifts the focus from strength to uncertainty, from confidence to caution, for a fanbase that thrives on boldness. That shift is deeply unsettling. People are not just worried about losing a player, they are worried about losing an identity that was beginning to take shape around him. What makes the speculation even more intense is the lack of closure, without clear answers. Every new report, every anonymous quote, and every social media post fuels the fire. Fans imagine worst-case scenarios because uncertainty invites fear. They picture Barkley thriving elsewhere while the Eagles search for answers. And that image hurts more than any confirmed bad news could. Rumors live in that painful space between truth and fiction, where imagination runs wild and hope slowly erodes. This is why this particular rumor has hit so hard, because it touches on both emotional attachment and competitive anxiety. Despite the heartbreak, some fans try to remind themselves that rumors do not always become reality. They cling to the possibility that this speculation is nothing more than noise, a product of the league's constant appetite for drama. They hope that Barkley remains a central piece of the Eagles' plans, that the silence is strategic rather than ominous. Yet even this cautious optimism is fragile once the idea of losing him has entered the collective consciousness. It cannot be erased. The damage, at least emotionally, has already been done. In the end, this rumor about Saquon Barkley leaving the Eagles stands as one of the most painful what-if scenarios of the season. It has forced fans to confront the harsh truth that even the most exciting moves can be temporary, and that loyalty in professional football is always tested by business realities. Whether Barkley stays or goes, the fact that this speculation has caused such an intense reaction speaks volumes about his impact and importance. For now, Eagles fans wait, hoping that this worst nightmare remains just a rumor, and that the tears shed in fear will not turn into tears of goodbye. As this rumor refuses to fade, it begins to transform into something heavier, something that lingers over every conversation about the Eagles and quietly reshapes how fans view the future. The possibility of Saquon Barkley leaving is no longer just about roster moves or salary structures. It becomes a symbol of how fragile excitement can be in the modern NFL. Fans start asking themselves whether it is even safe to get attached anymore, whether believing in long-term visions is worth the emotional cost. Barkley's name carries weight, and losing that name would echo far beyond the running back room. It would send a message, intentional or not, that nothing is guaranteed, not even the most celebrated additions. This thought alone drains energy from a fanbase that lives and breathes football, that builds its identity around players who feel like extensions of the city itself. When supporters imagine Barkley's departure, they are not just imagining a different depth chart. They are imagining a quieter stadium, a different rhythm to games, and a sense that something special was cut short before it could fully bloom. There is also a growing fear about the ripple effect such a move could create inside the locker room, even as speculation. The idea of Barkley leaving raises questions about trust and stability. Players notice when stars come and go quickly, and they internalize what that might mean for their own futures. Barkley is respected across the league, known for his work ethic and professionalism, and his presence carries authority. If someone like him is viewed as expendable, fans wonder what that says about the broader culture being built. This is why the rumor feels so destructive, because it threatens not only performance but belief. Belief is everything in sports. It is what turns close games into wins and adversity into motivation. Eagles supporters fear that removing Barkley from the equation, even hypothetically, weakens that belief and replaces it with doubt, which is far harder to overcome than any defensive scheme. FlyEaglesFly News family, smash subscribe and hit like. Your support keeps the freshest Philadelphia Eagles updates flying in. Drop your take in the comments and let's talk birds. Until clarity arrives, this rumor will continue to hang over the season like a dark cloud, influencing emotions regardless of what eventually happens. Saquon Barkley leaving the Eagles remains speculation, but speculation alone has proven powerful enough to shake confidence and stir genuine sadness among fans. They are left hoping that this is merely a test of patience, that the front office understands what Barkley represents beyond yards and highlights. For now, all anyone can do is wait, replaying the moments that made them believe this partnership was meant to last, and quietly praying that this chapter does not end before it truly begins. As pre-game preparations intensify, insiders continue to speculate on the potential impact of the Eagles' rumored advantage, suggesting that timing, adaptability, and mental resilience will be decisive factors in how the Commanders respond. Analysts highlight that the complexity of the situation, where last-minute information alters tactical assumptions, player focus, and team psychology, creates a scenario where every decision carries amplified consequences. Fans have latched onto every detail, dissecting practice footage, press conference soundbites, and unofficial reports, reinforcing the perception that the Eagles hold an upper hand. Reports suggest that veteran players are attempting to stabilize locker room morale, mentoring younger teammates, and emphasizing adaptability and mental toughness. Meanwhile, the Eagles are reportedly executing a preparation plan that maximizes their perceived advantage, allowing them to enter the matchup with confidence and strategic clarity. Observers speculate that this dual dynamic, Commanders reacting under pressure, Eagles operating from a position of calm authority, will define the prelude to the game, creating a narrative in which perception, rumor, and psychological leverage may play as significant a role as athletic execution. The swirling speculation, combined with on-field uncertainty, ensures that this matchup will be dissected and debated long before a single snap is completed, leaving the Commanders in a precarious position and the Eagles in a seemingly commanding role. The build-up to this matchup has reached fever pitch, fueled by speculation, rumor, and insider commentary that paints the Eagles as favorites while portraying the Commanders as grappling with internal chaos. Sources suggest that the last-minute update has created layers of uncertainty affecting strategy, morale, and decision-making across the Commanders' roster. Analysts argue that this psychological turbulence may magnify errors, delay reactions, and influence judgment in critical moments, while the Eagles' composure could allow them to exploit these vulnerabilities systematically. Fans and media are fixated on every subtle cue, from pre-game interviews to practice adjustments, interpreting these signals as evidence of which team holds the upper hand. Rumor and narrative have become central to the discourse, shaping perceptions as much as any measurable metric. If insiders are correct, the Commanders' capacity to recover focus, adapt strategy, and maintain cohesion will determine not only the outcome of this matchup, but also the broader story of their resilience under pressure. Meanwhile, the Eagles' ability to capitalize on both psychological and tactical advantages reinforces their projected favoritism, creating a pre-game narrative dominated by speculation, uncertainty, and dramatic tension that may influence the contest long before it begins. That's a wrap from FlyEaglesFly News. If you want the fastest Eagles updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Sound off in the comments. Let's talk birds.